thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It's Friday, January 3rd, and today is National Drinking Straw Day. So shout out to all those plastic straws out there, you guys.
Why do they have to be plastic?
Because if they're paper, they're just trash.
What about metal straws?
I'm down with metal straws. I have a few metal straws here at the house. I'm not mad at those. You know what I mean? Just, wash them, clean them. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty simple.
What
but restaurants,
plastic straws?
Those are cool too. I have no problem with that. I've even seen.
At what point does a straw turn into at what circumference does a straw turn into a pipe?
It has to be metal,
well, no, it only depends if you get the straw from a methadone clinic, Rico. Is it a pipe?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the definition right there.
Stick?
A what?
A swizzle stick.
What's a swizzle stick?
Yeah,
Is that some East Coast shit right there?
Yes. And shout out to Taffies.
Oh man.
You don't know the swizzle stick, Jason?
No, I don't know the swizzle stick. Why don't you guys?
That's amazing.
Yeah. But what's the swizzle stick, you guys? Come on, you guys can't just be hold out Harry's all morning.
Your coffee stir or your drink stir, the little.
See, I use the wooden things, the wooden stirs.
That's a swizzle stick.
But a swizzle stick is not a straw.
There's so many innuendos we're missing right now. Right. We don't have any. We don't have any women on the panel today. Like, you're missing this. Don't worry. She'll be here. Don't worry. We're not getting shut down yet.
A swizzle stick is wooden though. It's not a straw. It's not like you put your mouth around it and suck shit through it.
You'd rather you do that to something wooden?
What
Jason?
are you sucking through the straw?
Huh?
Wood.
Yeah,
Swizzles,
wood. Yeah,
I thought he said shit.
Yeah. Did you do it? Yeah, I bet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, glizzle stick.
Exactly. Oh man. Oh, so it looks like Dr. Mark's already drawing something up. So
yes.
Oh boy.
Dr. Marcus is drawing the anatomy over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to draw a chemical structure to keep our audience happy.
I bet. I got. So Rico, this one's for you, bro. It's you're gonna love this one. It's National Chocolate Covered Cherries Day.
Why is that? Why is that gotta be me?
I mean, why not? You don't like chocolate covered cherries?
I didn't say that. I just said, why is it got to be me?
I figured you like chocolate covered cherries, bro. You look like a guy that likes chocolate covered cherries.
You look like a guy that likes, wooden swizzle sticks.
You should have said, you look like a guy who likes vanilla lattes.
I actually do like vanilla lattes.
I thought, Jason, you like tapioca pudding, right?
Whoa, pause with all that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome and thank you all for joining us from whatever platform you are joining us from. We do appreciate it. And we are going to kick it off with the man who's on time today. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, the Mr. You know what I'm saying? The Mr. Tim Pool impersonator himself. Look at this. The black beanie, rocking it with a hoodie today. Man, oh man, you just need a skateboard, bro. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Yeah. I'm not digging the Tim Pool thing. And I'm going to start my piece off today by saying that I, nor any of my High at 9 News colleagues, are licensed financial representatives, advisors, brokers, or investment experts. I was, however, for 10 years prior to the last 9 years I've spent in legal cannabis, enough to know that anybody online telling you that they know anything about anything probably knows nothing and are most likely selling you something. So take stories like this one with a grain of salt for whatever entertainment value that you get out of it, or entertainment you get out of us arguing over the details afterwards. Anyways, MJ Biz Daily guest columnist Anthony Coniglio's, he is the president and CEO of board member at Connecticut-based New Lake Capital Partners, an internally managed real estate investment trust. See, I told you they were selling something. But he probably paid a hefty sum to bless the esteemed pages of this fine marijuana industry publication with what he believes to be cannabis investors' most sought after, or what cannabis investors should most likely be looking out for in 2025. I took notes so you guys would not have to. All right, so on state level developments, he said this: incremental progress at the state level is vital, with Ohio rolling out adult use cannabis in states like Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Nebraska, and North Carolina. Exploring medical and recreational legalization. Investors should watch these localized opportunities. Watch them, y'all. Federal rescheduling is likely. Marijuana reclassification to Schedule 3 under the Trump administration is expected, easing tax burdens but leaving capital excess issues unresolved. Broader reforms like banking changes will be needed for significant industry growth, you think? Banking reform hopes. The Safe Banking Act and the States Reform Act could gain traction under Trump, offering federal deregulation and better access to financial services, though legislative progress may be slow. It just might be slow, y'all. Mergers and acquisitions. With organic growth slowing, M&A activity is expected to increase as operators seek consolidation and efficiency, positioning them to industry stabilization is likely as weaker operators exit. Pricing pressure will persist, and resilient companies with strong cost management will stand out to investors. Oh, yes, they will. Hemp product challenges. Unregulated intoxicating hemp products remain a threat, and the new farm bill could close loopholes, but the regulatory uncertainty persists. Diversification into hemp-derived products may offer growth, but comes with legislative risks. Yes, they do. Uncertain federal policy. The Trump administration's stance on cannabis policy is a wild card. While supportive signals have been given, the industry should brace for unpredictability. He concluded by saying that investors in 2025 have to navigate a complex landscape marked with state-level progress, federal regulatory shifts, and market pressures. Adaptability and strategic positioning will be essential for success. My conclusion, much like yesterday's outlook, nobody knows what the fuck is going to happen this year. The industry remains a wild card, and it'll be up to you, America, you, to decide if investing in cannabis in any form or fashion is the right thing to do. I'm sure Anthony Coniglio is a nice guy, but yeah, respectfully, sir, there's a bunch of nothing. And he might as well have done a wrap up of 2024 over Kendrick Lamar's Peekaboo beat and dropped a video with it on YouTube, so at least we'd get some entertainment value out of this one. Sorry, but not sorry. It's 2025, and I'm coming raw and real, y'all. Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. What do you think, Jason? Another outlook.
Another outlook. I mean, you know, that's what these people do, Rico. But it doesn't.
They're not saying anything. Yeah, they're not even saying anything at all in these.
Well, that way they can't be held liable for, you know what I'm saying, misappropriating funds, or, you know what I'm saying, anything.
I know. This is why I'm telling the people out there, whenever you see these outlooks, especially if it is a guest column by somebody who owns an investment firm, then they're most likely going to be selling you a bill of goods, and they most likely have their money somewhere embedded in that article that they wrote.
Isn't that why they usually say this, the saying buyer beware? That's why I think they say that.
Past performance is not indicative of future results.
Spoken like a true financialist right there.
It's the easiest out on earth.
I'm surprised he was so lukewarm. It didn't really seem like he was.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't say shit. Like all of these outlooks and everything, they're not saying a damn thing, like at all. They're just very, very tepid on everything. They refuse to take a stance on anything, and they're just.
Oh, you muted yourself, Rico, right there at the end. There we go.
Still, yeah.
Nope, you're good.
Yeah, you're good now. You're back. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Easy with all that.
Yeah. I think nobody knows anything, and it's going to be a wild card. Just buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
Well, I think there are some likelihoods, though. RFK Jr. has spoken out very positively of cannabis many times. I reposted one of his posts last night from 2023 when he started to run, and he talked about he actually came against DeSantis really hard. And was saying it's wrong that DeSantis is opposing medical marijuana, and he claimed that he was going to affect federal change when it comes to medical marijuana, especially. So I expect if he is nominated and confirmed,
he will be. You think he will be?
Yeah, 100%.
You think he will be?
I expect there to be some market change. What that's going to be, we don't know. I think we're going Schedule 3, and that's not what I want, but I think that's what's going to happen. And then I think the next thing that happens out of that is all of the recreational people go into hemp, and it's going to be a big shift.
It's going to be that means there's going to be a big lobbying money for THCA all across the country. And shout out to the C word, who with a big old super chat just says, "I invest in marijuana, but keep smoking my investment, you guys."
I mean, you know what, Jesse?
I think there's likely to be a shakeup. Is the point? What exactly is going to happen? Who knows?
I'm waiting for somebody to go, balls in like you just did, Jesse, and just go ahead and say that shit. Take a risk and say something like that. Say like, this is what's going to happen. Make a bold prediction like that. Like none of these, publications are taking any bold predictions at all.
Well, that's because they're
afraid to offend people on the left.
They're weak,
and there's a lot of people on the left in the cannabis industry who are really, really outspoken.
It's not a left or right. It's not a left or right thing. And most of these financial folks are hardcore rights.
I know. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But I still think they're scared of industry people.
Yeah.
Most of the people in the financial world are not. That's not true.
Yeah, I think they're doing themselves a disservice. Like, go ahead and take a side. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Stick with your conviction. At least you took a stance.
Exactly.
At least you said, like, this is why, and give the reasons on why you think this will happen, or even give a hedge with that. Be like, yo, if RFK Jr. is nominated or is confirmed, I believe that this will happen. Like, rather than.
Yeah. Or you know what I think that they could say, and they could probably skate on this, is if they say I anticipate or I expect this dot will happen once RFK is confirmed in this seat. When that's an easy speculation for people to be able to do and be able to actually say something instead of all this just wishy-washiness.
Super easy if you pay attention.
Yeah, say it with your chest.
I like how you said that, Jesse. That's right. All these guys need to pay attention because they're not paying anything else.
I know, because they broke.
Attention, Jason.
You can't pay attention
to a hemp-based cannabinoid formulary as a recreational cannabis company might be out the fucking window too, because Schedule 3 would then bring the FDA into cannabis and cannabinoid formularies, right? Period.
You're right.
Which would then throw in the FDA Preclusion Act, because there are already approved FDA drugs with hemp formularies, both with the ocular suspension of cannabinoids like CBD, but also with THC.
You are very correct about that. Very correct about that, Jenny Beth. That is very true.
That's right. It's going to cause a major shakeup.
Yeah, it's going to be really bad all the way. You're very, very right about that, Jenny Beth. Very correct. Dr. Mark, you have any thoughts on this? All this compound talk.
Well, I like Jesse's idea. Well, I don't like his idea, but I think his idea might be spot on correct, which is that, there are no rules in the hemp space. And so there maybe lies the home for recreational markets. But, I think there could be another potential solution where they carve this. If it does go to Schedule 3, they carve it out of the Controlled Dangerous Substance Act, similar to the way they've done caffeine, because I just don't see them going back. I mean, I don't know how you put the recreational genie back in the bottle, right?
Combined with the market, right?
Well, yeah, I think that's a very interesting observation, Jesse. But I think maybe the other thing that's just going to benefit from this is the trap. Trap will win because I can't buy my recreational weed that's taxed by the state at a state-owned dispensary. Fine, I'll just go to my guy. So people are just going to start going back to their guys and stop. I think we see it here in Vermont. Sales and dispensaries are down. I think that's twofold. I think it's because of the hemp play, but it's also people just sticking with the trap.
Well, at the same time, too, I mean, it's also wintertime up there, and no one wants to leave their home. And if you can order stuff and have it delivered to your door, Dr. Mark, that's a way more convenient availability, bro, especially if you're in these rural communities out there in Vermont in the Green Mountain State.
Yeah.
Y'all got that polar vortex coming too, right?
Yeah, no one wants to trek out into the snow, and you know what I'm saying? No one wants to have to go to Ames or, you know what I'm saying, all that stuff, bro.
Nobody wants to fight the protests out there, going out to
especially
Amherst.
if you're limited to a quarter or an eighth, right? You're going to burn through that in just a couple days.
Exactly. Why not
go to my guy in the trap and get a couple ounces at a pretty decent price?
Yeah,
and
think of Ohio.
Not to mention
Ohio. They got tenths.
Not to mention, Dr. Mark, that trapper is going to deliver it to you.
Guess what else is going to happen?
What's
Price
that?
is going up for the trap.
Oh, is that right? Oh, man.
New Jersey has
it was beautiful going back.
There's a bold
Jersey
prediction.
Has drone delivery in the trap now.
Well, because Jason, you have to. The reason why cannabis was expensive in the first fucking place, and people were able to make a lot of money, is because the prohibition of cannabis artificially inflated its actual monetary value. So if we have to go back to this trap model where this is the only option, and guess what? Prices are going up.
I'm all about the prices going up. That would be a great thing for the industry overall. Jenny went into the Matrix for a second. Did you guys see that?
No,
That was
I didn't.
crazy.
I had
They had
fireworks.
Fireworks show from her thumbs up.
Heart started beating again.
It looked like the Matrix, and there was a whole bunch of code going on. Oh, look at you guys. Oh, look at you guys. Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
They broke the stream.
Apple devices.
Fair enough. I got buttons too, you guys. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. You get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Ah, yes, and we are back, Rico.
We are back, y'all. He spent all of 2024 losing weight, and in 2025, he's pushing it again. He's pushing weight once again.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of pushing weight, Rico, I upped my push-up game today. I did 225 in less than 10 minutes. I went up to 45 in my 5-set routine.
God damn,
today.
Jason, I can't keep up with you, man. Like, at what point is it you gonna stop calling them push-ups? You gonna start calling them push-downs because you pushing the earth down, motherfucker.
Oh, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But gravity's working my way when I'm pushing down.
Here we are, the cannabis industry's very own Atlas, Jason Beck. The world on his shoulders today. What you got for us, Jason?
Oh, man, yes. Good morning, Rico. Happy Friday, you guys. I hope everyone is having an amazing start to their new year. You know what I mean? This little baby first half of this kind of week kind of thing. It's kind of weird having New Year's on a Wednesday, personally, but you know. Nonetheless, you guys, I have some great news for you today. And congratulations to Miss Dina Titus, because she's a Nevada congresswoman tapped to serve as a co-chair of the Congress's Cannabis Caucus, you guys. So congratulations so much, Congresswoman Dina Titus, on this. She is going to be replacing Earl Blumenauer's role on the Cannabis Caucus for the Democratic side. And so I want to say big congratulations to her, because U.S. Representative Dina Titus, a Democrat from Nevada, will become one of the leading voices on issues related to cannabis on Capitol Hill. Titus's office announced on Thursday that the lawmaker has been named the co-chair of the Congressional Cannabis Caucus. She will succeed U.S. Representative Earl Blumenauer of Oregon, who is retiring from Congress. In a quote, in Nevada and the 23 other states that have decriminalized marijuana, the cannabis industry has demonstrated it is a responsible industry, Titus said in a statement. It's time for the federal government to recognize that, she says. Blumenauer helped launch the Cannabis Caucus back in 2017 to streamline cannabis reform at the federal level, and other members of the caucus come from states that have legalized adult use cannabis as well. Cannabis advocates said they expect Titus to be a staunch advocate for fair regulation. In a quote, Congresswoman Titus has been on the leading edge of support for sensible cannabis policy reform for as long as she has been in office, including in her time as a state senator prior to her congressional service, said Rihanna Durrett, director of the Cannabis Policy Institute at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. In a quote, she says, I know that she is very knowledgeable on this subject matter and greatly look forward to her leadership in this area, you guys. Well, shout out, congratulations, Congresswoman Dina Titus. I look forward to working with you on things related to cannabis coming up in this new 119th Congress that actually gets sworn in on Monday, you guys. So congratulations to her. And what do y'all have to say about this?
Me and Jesse Barney are just two very, very juvenile-minded individuals.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's like way too many puns to drop on that one.
So many.
Oh,
so it's just never ending.
I mean, I'm waiting to hear something, you guys. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. Okay.
They're racking their brains.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one.
That's right. I know Democrats too.
I don't know anything about her, so I can't speak.
Well,
to
so she's the congressional. She represents Las Vegas, Nevada. And that.
But what does it mean for her to be the co-chair of the Congress's?
Is
she awesome? Does she suck? What's going on?
No, she's
a picture with him and somebody, because he had a picture of him and somebody. Is that what we?
What?
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, what are her stances? What tell us about her,
as far as for cannabis, she's a strong advocate for cannabis. She's been working on cannabis policy on Capitol Hill. She's been an ally of ours on cannabis legislation over the years. I've known her for a decent period of time, and so I'm very thankful that she's going to be the person that is going to be replacing Earl Blumenauer as the Democratic lead in the Cannabis Caucus. And once you are a chair of the Cannabis Caucus, caucus, you are the ones that delegate the negotiating chips in regards with passing sensible legislation. And so we're going to have Dina Titus on the Democratic side being the chair, and we are going to have Congressman Brian Mast and Congressman Dave Joyce as the Republican co-chairs on that side. And so this is going to be fantastic for cannabis. And I think that we might actually get some done in this 119th Congress, you guys.
What do you think? She'll add to the table, or she'll bring to the table that'll actually get things done?
I think there's a lot of things already at the table, and it's not about things that she's going to bring to the table to get things done. I think there's a motivation in Congress to get something done on this issue overall, and she's a perfect person with a lot of strong relationships on the Hill to help move this industry forward in a meaningful way.
Cool.
We'll see. Yeah.
Let's see what she does.
I'm surprised you guys don't have more to say about this.
No, because I
want to know. I mean, it's something I'll have to go find out more about. Or I trust you. That it's a good thing. But just like I want to trust RFK Jr. too. But can I? I don't know.
Fair enough. What's that, Dr. Mark?
This puts lipstick on lip service, right? This, has been nothing but lip service. I know, Blumauer and all those riders that they put into appropriations to make sure that they can't use federal funds if there's businesses that are operating underneath state regulations. But that's just a freaking Band-Aid, right? That's not solving the problem. The problem is that they need to remove cannabis from the schedule altogether. It's not dangerous, so it does not need to be controlled.
Yep.
So they need to remove it from the schedule, not deschedule. Deschedule is just a boondoggle. They just need to remove it from the schedule altogether. And if she ends up accomplishing that, and all the power to her. But
fair enough.
All lip service up to this point.
What's funny is I saw a funny X post yesterday from my buddy Kyle Sherman, who owns Flow Hub, and he posted on X. He said, peanuts have actually killed more people than cannabis.
That's right.
There
you go.
Peanuts are more dangerous than cannabis.
Yep, exactly.
That's because the presence of something called aflatoxin, which some people have an extreme allergic reaction to. It's really weird. I don't know if you've seen this, but they actually test cannabis for aflatoxin when there is no incident of occurrence of aflatoxin in cannabis or some of these other mycotoxins, but because they're so toxic, it is something that they routinely screen for. But yeah, peanuts are more dangerous than cannabis.
Yep. Dr.
Mark, do you think that's because of cross contamination? Because honestly, in cannabis testing labs, we don't often have the most skilled of technicians with the best practices.
There just hasn't been enough science on the microbes that infect cannabis to understand what the spectrum of mycotoxins that those specific organisms generate. So now what they're doing is they're saying, well, aflatoxin could be on rotten peanuts, so we better test cannabis for that. Ochratoxin and some of these other toxins, which again are found in certain foods. I don't know that any of these mycotoxins have ever been found in cannabis whatsoever, but it's just, a knee-jerk reaction because cannabis is so dangerous. We better test it for these mycotoxins. So what mycotoxins are compounds that are generated by microbes while they inhabit cannabis. And there just hasn't been enough research to understand what those mycotoxins are and at what levels do they cause impact of the safety to humans of using that cannabis.
Obviously, cannabis is not going to kill anyone, but I do have a cousin. I know a few other people, very few people, who have pretty strong allergic reactions to being around specifically the smoking of cannabis or things like that, right? I've had people that have been grow employees that have skin reactions. My cousin actually does have more of an anaphylactic, where his throat not as severe as if he had a peanut allergy and ate peanuts. But I wonder, I guess we just don't know enough yet to see what exactly would be causing.
No, and I don't think there's a documented case of somebody having some type of anaphylactic shock from, mycotoxin infected cannabis.
Right.
I think it's just a knee-jerk reaction because cannabis is so dangerous. We better test it for all these other things.
It's interesting, Dr. Mark, because I remember when I was a kid, I used to fly across the country a lot, and I would always love the honey roasted peanuts that they had on the plane, and like I would stock up on those packs, and they were so good. And then all of a sudden one day I was flying and I asked for the honey roasted peanuts, and they told me that they remove them from all airlines because people are allergic to peanuts. And I was like, what? That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. And they said that people were getting sick from the off-gassing when people would open up the packages of peanuts on the airlines. And because you're in a closed, closed capsule, that's why they did it, that people were actually getting sick from people around them opening up the packages and the off-gassing from that.
This is when, Jason, you should have responded by sneezing on her and telling her that you're allergic to bullshit.
I mean, I'm not mad at that. I did tell her that was some bullshit and that was totally ridiculous, and I did tell her that. But I was a lot younger then too. I was like, like single digits, Rico. But still calling bullshit out even then.
I'm allergic to bullshit. I'm allergic to cow patties. I'm allergic to all that. I can't even drive through Salinas.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. And on that, we are going to roll right on into the man who's out there in the greener pasture, the greenest pasture of them all, the great state of Vermont. It is none other. Yes, he does chemistry. He does fancy drawings for us. And that's right. He is out there in the great green state of Vermont where everything grows. That's right. It is none other than Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Happy New Year, Dr. Mark.
All right.
Happy New Year. Yeah.
Happy Friday, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. Hope you had a great New Year's Eve. Hope you had a great holiday season. I certainly did. So today, a very interesting article from the journal Biomedicine and Pharmacotherapy, and it's entitled Cannabinoids as Cytotoxic Agents and Potential Modulators for Human Parasite Trichomonas vaginalis. Vaginalis, guess where that one occurs, right? Okay, so trichomonas or trichomoniasis is a lot of terminology here. Anyway, a globally prevalent sexually transmitted infection caused by Trichomonas vaginalis affects approximately 278 million people each year. It presents a challenge due to resistance to current treatments like metronidazole, which is also associated with numerous side effects. So cannabis sativa, with more than 100 phytocannabinoids and numerous studies on therapeutic applications, including parasitic infections, has undergone a significant shift in acceptance worldwide, highlighted by legalizations and substantial revenue projections. In this context, the present study delves into the effects of cannabinoids, specifically WIN 55212-2. So that's a synthetic cannabinoid. Cannabivirin, CBV, and I have a structure drawn of CBV right here. So you can see the difference between CBN up here on the top and CBV is CBN has got a 5-carbon tail over here, and CBV has got a 3-carbon tail. So it's basically the CBN derivative of the varins with the 3-carbon tail. So I had not seen a whole lot of work done on cannabivirin, so it's very interesting to see this work being presented. So CBV showcasing their anti-parasitic actions that influence the growth and morphology of T. vaginalis. The analysis extends to encompass the pharmacokinetic properties of these cannabinoids. Among the analyzed compounds, CBV stands out for adhering to Lipinski's rules. Lipinski was a medicinal chemist back in the 80s, and he came up with a set of rules on what drug-like molecules should be in terms of their size, in terms of their water solubility, in terms of their polarity. So Lipinski published a paper, I think in the early 80s, that's been used to guide drug design based on the size of the molecule, how water soluble or fat soluble the molecule is, what kind of functional groups. If the molecules are too big, they can't be transported through the body. They'll be degraded. So Lipinski's rules are basically a set of guidelines that are used in drug design. Okay, so CBV adheres to Lipinski's rules, indicating its potential suitability for oral drug delivery. They also demonstrated inhibitory effects on the growth of T. vaginalis trophozoites, which are basically the little cells, and a reduction of the parasite's adhesion to host cells. So it's important for a parasite to stick to a cell in order to infect it. So if they could inhibit the adhesion of the parasitic cell to the natural cell, you could inhibit the infection of that cell. So several morphological alterations were observed. The way they observe these things is under something called a TEM, which is a transition or transmitting electron microscope. So it's a very, very blown up version of what they're looking at on the cells, and they look at the surface of the cells, and they look for changes in the morphology, which is the shape of the cell itself. So these or several morphological alterations were observed, such as membrane projections, something called blebbing, where it makes like a little bubble on the outside of the membrane, autophagosomes, we won't go there, and damaged hydrogenosomes. These are all just little parts of the cell, and they could observe these underneath the microscope. So these highlight the need for further research to explore the therapeutic potential of cannabinoids and understand their mechanisms in action for T. vaginalis. So this is really very kind of exciting because, again, it's a sexually transmitted disease. T. vaginalis is a protozoan type of microbe, if you will, or bacteria, if you will, that basically lives in, of all places, the vagina, right? And can be transmitted through intercourse and everything. So what they found, so the WIN compound is a synthetic cannabinoid, and the WIN compound has very much higher activity at the CB1 receptor. But these things, again, act on a number of different receptors in these cells, including TRPV1. It also reacts at something called PPAR gamma. So its activity at CB1 may not limit its therapeutic potential to treat this. So this is a very scientific paper, but I thought what was most exciting about this is whenever you see the WIN compound compared to the phytocannabinoids are only partial agonists at CB1, where the WIN compound is a full-blown agonist, meaning that it's just much more potent. This is one of the compounds that sometimes is found in spice. It's the compound that we use in the laboratory to measure how potent cannabinoids are because it's so much more potent than the phytocannabinoids. But if you look at the data that they present here, it looks as though CBV, which again is a non-psychoactive cannabinoid from Varin strains, like I said, the CBN kind of analog of Varins, is that it's just as active as the wind compound. So this is really super exciting for medicinal chemists. And there's a bunch of pictures of the cells. They talk about how the treatment of this disease is restricted to this nitroimidazole derivative called metromidazole, which have numerous side effects. And having something like the cannabinoids, which we know have very little side effects in terms of toxicity to humans. They're very, very safe. So cannabinoids have been significant in drug discovery efforts because of their safety, right? Because they're so safe and humans can tolerate them, they become good templates for drug design. So I wasn't really aware of too much other literature that showed anti-parasitic activity of cannabinoids. So that's why I found this article quite fascinating. So just to sum up, it looks like CBV is just as active as the wind compound, which tells you that its activity is not solely due to CB1 binding. It's probably hitting some other targets. They say here is exploring alternative therapeutic approaches is crucial for this disease. One promising avenue is to use cannabis sativa and its compounds, which have demonstrated anti-parasitic properties in this study. In conclusion, the cannabinoids inhibit T. vaginalis proliferation and alter the morphology to basically kill the cells. So this warrants further research as to see if this can actually be something therapeutic. Like, would this be something that you'd actually have to apply to the vagina, or would this be something that is so active you can take a pill and the pill can go through your digestive system, put enough of the compound into your bloodstream, and have the action that way? So such exploration could revolutionize the current understanding and the treatment of parasitic infections and offer new hopes for these persistent pathogens. So I've never heard of this particular infection, but I guess it's pretty widespread throughout the world, probably in developing areas of the world. And here it is, just another disease that cannabis can potentially be a therapeutic agent for. So I think it's pretty exciting when I read about things like this. And these papers always end up saying more research is needed. In this case, this was research that was done down in Brazil. I think this might be more prevalent in tropical climates. But who knew? Cannabis could be effective in controlling sexually transmitted diseases. I did not know that, so I learned something new today.
Yes, weed is my choice prophylactic.
Wow.
Go, what do you got to say,
That's
Jenny?
not necessary, jerk. That's not necessarily how that works, Rico. Was trying not to super duper touch this with a 10-foot pole because you guys are just so fucking mature as my co-hosts and pundits on this show. But I guess as once again the resident vagina owner.
Yep.
Maybe it's not so well. No, this doesn't mean that it's safe to have all those half-naked Instagram models rub their stuff up on your plants. Just and you need it later. It might.
And the crazy thing is right before.
Please keep the naked coochies away from the weed.
So you're saying no girl on girl action, Jenny Beth?
I'm saying nobody wants your cross contamination.
Hey man, right before COVID, and I think I have them here somewhere. A couple of CBD infused condoms.
Oh man, I remember those.
That actually seems like stupid because CBD crashes out as well, and so like there's a company called the Privy Peach that was doing a CBD lube, right? Mm-hmm. So in theory, cool. Until you open the package and realize that the CBD is crashed out and there's crystalline forms of CBD now in that. Very abrasive. It's more of an exfoliant for your vagina than a lubricant at that point.
An exfoliant.
It sounds like the only type of protection that a crash out would use anyways. Would you not agree?
I mean, God.
Interesting.
I don't believe everybody should be able to procreate, but that's just me.
I'm allergic to latex.
Great.
This show is proof of that. Dr. Mark, you said something interesting in there. You said you weren't aware of any antibacterial or something like that.
No.
There's not a lot of literature, but I was under the impression that THC and THCA are extremely antiviral and
yes, antibacterial, but not anti-parasite. So parasites are slightly different than bacteria. Parasite has a symbiotic relationship by basically infecting healthy cells. Yes, in general, the cannabinoids are antibacterial and antimicrobial. But antiparasitic is a different kind of mechanism of action. And so I wasn't aware that the compounds in cannabis have this antiparasitic properties until I read this paper. There's a couple review papers that are cited here, and I was going to go follow up on them. But, I think that when you're talking about a parasite, there's a life cycle with parasites. Often what will happen, like in Lyme's disease, is like the tick transmits the disease, and there's eggs and larvae involved. There's a whole life cycle symbiosis. And it seems as though, again, we know that cannabinoids help maintain homeostasis, right? And so in maintaining homeostasis, maybe that, again, is part of the anti-parasitic action that these things have. It's interesting that they chose the Wind compound because, again, the Wind compound is very, very active at CB1. And it's kind of like one of the hallmark compounds. If you think you have a good CB1 compound, something that binds to CB1 to give the psychoactive effect of agonizing CB1, you'll compare it to the Wind compound and see if you're more or less potent. All the phytocannabinoids are less potent than the Wind compound. Wind stands for Sterling Winthrop, where the compound was originally developed and discovered. That pharmaceutical company is no longer in business, but the Wind compound is just a common compound that's available, and that, again, people use in the laboratory to determine whether or not they're acting on CB1. So these things are not as active at CB1 as the Wind compound, which tells you that they're hitting some other targets. And the fact that they're hitting other targets says that there might be multiple ways to intervene in this parasitic infection. So I think it opens up a lot more than just using cannabinoids, but maybe finding out what those targets are and seeing if there's other small molecules that could inhibit those targets.
That was a great way to put that, Dr. Mark.
So do you think that this might indicate that there might be other parasitic infections that cannabis could affect as well?
Yeah,
is that the question it kind of opens?
I think it does. Okay. So other parasitic type infections, perhaps the cannabinoid receptors or the receptors that these compounds act on are potentially therapeutic or potential targets for therapeutic intervention. Absolutely. Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Man, very, very interesting. Shout out to you said it's called CBDV?
No, not CBD. So CBDV is the CBD analog of the varins, right? So that looks just like CBD, but it has a 3-carbon tail. CBV this is, which is
just CBV. Got it.
Not cannabidivirin. Cannabidivirin is the CBD analog. Cannabivirin is the cannabinol analog, so the analog of CBN. I had not seen that compound at all. So that's, again, one of the reasons why this sort of, interested me.
So I just can't. I'm just imagining all of the amazing names that people are going to come out with products once they learn about this, and they're probably going to be like a topical rub. You know what I'm saying? CBV for your V kind of thing.
Oh my God! All right, Jason. So I don't think this is going to be quite so prevalent in the U.S. As he was talking about, it's a Brazilian study, right? And so for those of you that haven't spent a lot of time in South America, or those
muito prazer.
BBL?
I wonder if it has anything
close to the
Getting to do
equator
with
area,
the-
they have a lot of like different issues with their vaginas, right? Like a lot of different infections happen down there. One, because of climate, and two, because of
Carnival.
like, well, no, not Carnival. Like they're using really shitty panty material, right? And I know this because I have one really creepy client who likes to go down to South America and like has told me way more. Like I'm like, this is none of my information. But
South America is
they
awesome.
use really shitty underwear materials, which foster different environments in your nether regions, which could
So they have
foster
fecal
probably
matter
more
infused
easy-
in them?
Is that the reason
ew.
why they have that Brazilian strip, landing strip there?
Is
I
that
don't think that's a Brazilian thing. I don't think that's a Brazilian thing. And I don't know why they call it the Brazilian wax, because I've never felt like I was in Brazil when that happened. But I think that there are some different things that can happen, and environmental things around your vagina are very important and will change kind of the ecosystem that happens down there. So like they don't have organically lined underwear, stuff like that.
So you think
they got shitty panties? They have, you know.
So you think they should start instead of using like tummy fat and stuff with BBLs, they should start using distillate?
God, you know what? We're I don't know. We're going into our next commercial. We're going to be right back. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Mark. And you know what I'm saying? Protect your CBV, you guys.
Brazil.
Oh, and we are
Talk about
back.
your
Stop
mic
whatever you're doing, you guys. Make sure that you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com.
Are you a business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today? We have the solution for you. That's right, Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry, secure up to $2 million today. And make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul you said hi from High at 9.
And we're back.
Oh, boy.
Oh my God.
We should save that story for the end because you guys are not mature enough to get this train back.
Stop it. Stop
Hey,
the
you guys,
ridiculousness.
I have not said anything, Jenny.
Jesse, you're
No,
guilty
Jesse,
by
Jesse,
association, Jesse.
I've been laughing at how stupid they are.
I agree. You guys could. This is why you guys can't find the clitoris, because you can't shut up long enough to listen to instructions.
Oh, boy.
I found the clitoris all the way back in 1988, girl. Tell you what.
And now you know why I have 7 kids and they don't.
Oh,
Exactly.
man.
And up next.
It has nothing to do with
Do
it.
not ask this man if the carpet matches the drapes. Because you will be adding gingery to the injury.
Yeah, nice.
He's a 7-time non-pullout champion of the world. Here to bless us all with facts. Whether you check these facts or not is up to you. And just know, if you need some marketing, brand building skills, that too, make sure you hit him up. Also, his name is Jesse Barney. He's here to bless us with our first story of the second half of the day. Jesse Barney, what you got for us, my man? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Rico. All right. That was a hell of an introduction. I love it.
Yeah.
My story comes out of Vice Media this morning by Sammy Caramella. Bad news for psychedelic therapy in certain Colorado cities. As of this week, Coloradans can use psilocybin in controlled settings, but conservative leaders are trying to impose restrictions on the treatment. Colorado has just become the second state to legalize psychedelic therapy, a groundbreaking move aimed at addressing mental health conditions like PTSD, depression, and anxiety. However, this milestone is being met with resistance in conservative cities like Colorado Springs, where local leaders are imposing restrictions on treatment. Psychedelic therapy centers around psilocybin, the compound found in psychedelic mushrooms. Following Oregon's lead, Colorado voted to legalize the substance for therapeutic use back in 2022. Starting this week, individuals and companies can apply for licenses to administer psilocybin in controlled settings. Despite the legal framework, AP News reports, Colorado Springs has pushed to the limit the establishment of healing centers where these therapies would take place. The city's move to extend the required distance between healing centers and sensitive locations, such as schools, to a full mile has drawn sharp criticism, particularly from the veteran community. Colorado Springs, home to over 90,000 veterans, has long been a hub for retired service members, making the issue deeply personal. We have an opportunity to support veterans, and it's a really easy one to say yes to, said Lane Ballone, a Special Forces veteran who has experienced the therapeutic benefits of psilocybin firsthand. Ballone warned that restrictions would reduce the number of available treatment centers, leading to longer wait times and less accessibility for those in need. Council President Randy Helms, himself a veteran, expressed cautious support for the therapy. I will never sit up here and criticize a veteran for wanting to find a medical treatment to fix or help with the issues that they carry, he said. Do I think that it's helpful to not just veterans but to individuals? Probably so. Do I think it still needs to be tested under strict requirements? Yes. Despite these considerations, the Colorado Springs City Council ultimately passed the proposed restrictions, citing concerns over the lack of FDA approval and potential risks associated with the treatment. The therapeutic use of psychedelics is still a developing field, though studies have shown promising results. Psilocybin has been found to help patients process trauma, connect to underlying emotions, and alleviate symptoms of PTSD. Advocates argue that it offers a vital option to those for whom traditional treatments such as talk therapy and antidepressants have failed. This is a crisis we are in, and this is a tool we can add to our toolbox, said Taylor West, executive director of the Healing Advocacy Fund. However, skepticism remains. Critics worry about the risks of overpromising results, financial exploitation of patients, and adverse effects in those with certain mental health conditions such as schizophrenia. That just sounds like a criticism of the entire medical industry to me. While the restrictions in Colorado Springs may have passed, the conversation around psychedelic therapy is far from over as Colorado begins its journey to integrate this treatment into mainstream healthcare. Well, here we go, guys. That's similar to cannabis. As psychedelics march across the country and begin, we're starting to see these fights happen in small communities. Even in states where it's been legalized, the smaller towns and the counties are fighting against it. They're scared of it. We have 100 years of prohibition and drug war BS, especially for the last 50 years since the 70s, and we're still fighting all of this propaganda. I hope that they loosen this up and help these veterans. I did not know that there's 90,000 veterans in Colorado Springs, so it sounds like they need to do a better job here. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Yeah. So I have a facility in Colorado Springs, cultivation, retail, and that's kind of been an issue forever. So you have a lot of Air Force bases there. You've got, focus on the family. It's a very conservative base. And the city has contracts with those bases and with the Air Force Academy and things like that. And that kind of leads, I think, more to their prohibitionist mindset, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, we were covering the Colorado Springs and how they tried to get adult use passed over there on three different voter initiatives, and the city council even voted, said, hey, if you can't get it passed this time, you guys can't put up another voter referendum. And so
we were a part of that, and it's been a nightmare. It's been a very, very, very frustrating situation, and there are a couple of dispensaries right on the edge of the border of Colorado Springs that are advocating obviously against it, and they have a decent amount of money behind them because they've been able to take all those recreational dollars for people who can't get shops and can't get recreational adult use.
Man.
So it's, I need to check up on that. I've been in my own world, so I need to admittedly look back into where we are there, because there was two very conflicting initiatives that both looked like they were going to pass.
Well, I mean, we covered it here on High at Night News, and I think
I covered it, but it wasn't finished.
What do you mean it wasn't finished?
I mean, they were saying that they were both passing, and the one that was going to amend the city's constitution or whatever it is would be the one that would matter more, which is the one that would prevent cannabis in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, but then we had a follow-up story like a day or two after that where it was saying that the one that would allow for adult use, I thought beat that one out. Like there was more voter support for that.
They weren't certified. No, I covered both of them, but they weren't certified. So I'm going to look and actually get a finite answer. I'll have a finite answer.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Jenny Beth. We'll have an update on that on Monday. Shout out to Colorado Springs and their prohibitionist ways, you guys. They love to hate on any type of progress with plant medicine.
It's a bummer because for me, a lot of this always comes down to people saying, this is conservative people, and typically this is associated with the Christian right. And it's really sad because the Christian right's own book says that this is a plant that's it's a God-given right. It's spoken of directly in Genesis 1:29. So if you're a Christian out there, go read Genesis 1:29 and start telling your fellow Christians that being anti-cannabis is not a theologically smart move. Yeah, right. It is.
You're against one of God's creations.
Unfortunately, right. Jesse, you're totally right. But unfortunately, in Colorado Springs, it absolutely is the Christian conservative right, because it's got a lot to do with the money behind James Dobson and his focus on the family campus that is huge in Colorado Springs.
Yep.
I did know that. So, and that's why I knew that. I totally know that Colorado Springs is a very Christian place. And so that when conservative people are coming against, this type of new policy, it's that camp, and it's coming from the churches. That's where that message is spread. And it shouldn't be. They should be pro-cannabis because it's literally in the Bible.
Fair.
See that part of the Bible, and that's why the Bible's been rewritten so many times as a means of control, which is really unfortunate. That's why people have a hard time with religion and with a relationship with God, because throughout history, we've seen the powers that be that run the church use this and twist the narratives and twist the actual meaning to fit whatever they want to change about society or whatever they don't believe you're doing.
That is true.
You're right. And in fact, I'll just elaborate on that a little bit. There's one verse in the entire Bible that gets pulled out by the churches, and it's when it says you shouldn't be committing sorcery. And the word for sorcery is a Greek word, and it's pharmakeia. And pharmakeia is directly transliterated in language to pharmacy. So they used that word of sorcery to say that drugs are pharmakeia or sorcery or against God. And I find that really interesting because they're all very pro-pharmakeia when it comes to the pharmaceutical companies. So it's just a big hypocrisy thing, and it's spun around words and propaganda that's just cherry picking little things and rejecting what's in the rest of the Bible, because cannabis is pretty clearly spoken about a few times, and that stuff's just ignored. So it's a theological fail on anybody who's intelligent and studies the Christian religion at all. So I just encourage anybody to raise the game and actually do your homework, because the Bible's pretty clear on what it thinks about cannabis.
And just, if you do enough homework, then you're going to see that it was all a bunch of propaganda in the first place.
And just to reiterate on this story a little bit, anyone that has a problem with veterans choosing a plant-based medicine, I can't call them a Republican. I call them a rhino Republican in name only.
That's right.
Because they are not about the freedom and liberty that they should be, and they need to take a hard look in the mirror on that, because these veterans fought for our country, and they fought for the right for people to be able to choose what they want to do and whatnot, and those choices and their efforts need to be honored, in my opinion. And on that, we're going to go into our next commercial. What's that, Jenny?
I'm not just looking at Colorado Springs on their adult use and whatever their access issues are. I'm looking at the VA because if you're using cannabinoid-based therapies, you lose your coverage. Lose whatever other medications you need, and that's shameful.
It is. 100%. You're totally right about that. And we're going to roll into our next commercial and be right back. Are you all ready for America's new #1 D9 gummy line? That's right. We are bringing to you Parody Gummy. These vegan gummies are manufactured in a safe harbor facility, so you know they're going to be clean and safe, and they're not going to give you any of the runaround. Coming in, we have 3 amazing flavors for you. We have the Raspberry Riots. Also, we have the Sleepy Joes if you need something to help you sleep at night. And if you're feeling like raging and having a party time, that's right, we have the Pineapple Bad Hombre. If you're feeling like a bad hombre, make sure you head over to www.parodygummy.com and secure your bag today. Oh, and we are back. You with us, Rico?
Yeah, I just introduced Jesse. I'm just introducing everybody from here on out.
That's why I said. That's why we said in the break that you were going to introduce Jesse and Jenny because I had the last story.
All right. Up next is none other than the very lovely and awake today. Out from the South. Yeah, she is representing Justice Serve 501c3 and Kind Cannabis Consulting, and here to break us off with a little bit of Friday heat for that ass. The first one of 2025 is none other than Jenny Beth Deals for reals. The sound effects, Jason. Come on, man.
They're in there. They're there.
Jason's gonna hate this story.
No, I'm not.
Jason's gonna hate the story. But don't bet your future on a political mirage. The cannabis industry faces familiar uncertainties following Donald Trump's re-election, reigniting concerns about the future of federal reform. Over the past decade, the industry has repeatedly placed its hopes on political promises for sweeping federal changes, only to see progress evaporate like a desert mirage. With each election cycle, comprehensive reform has been delayed, leaving businesses to navigate a fragmented and challenging national landscape. Cannabis reform remains a political football tossed between parties for leverage during campaigns, but rarely delivering substantive change. During his last campaign, President Biden pledged to decriminalize cannabis and hinted at rescheduling. While some symbolic steps were taken, such as pardoning federal cannabis offenses for simple possession, comprehensive federal reform did not materialize. Now, with Trump back in office, the industry is bracing for more of the same. Trump's historical approach to cannabis has been marked by ambivalence, allowing states to forge ahead with their own policies, but showing little enthusiasm for federal action. It's time for cannabis businesses to reconsider their strategies. Banking on federal legalization as a cure-all has proven to be risky and largely fruitless endeavor. Even if federal legalization were to occur, challenges like limited banking access, overwhelming tax burdens, and complex compliance requirements would not vanish overnight. Take banking, for example. Despite the promises of broader financial services with legalization, the reality is far more complicated. In Canada, where cannabis is federally legal, banks remain cautious about working with cannabis companies due to regulatory risk and compliance costs. This suggests federal legalization in the U.S. wouldn't immediately solve banking issues, leaving the industry highly cash-intensive and vulnerable. Taxation is another hurdle. Under Section 280E of the federal tax code, cannabis businesses are unable to deduct normal business expenses, resulting in effective tax rates of up to 70%. Rescheduling cannabis to a lower classification could alleviate some of this burden, but such a move wouldn't address the numerous state-specific costs and regulations that continue to strain businesses. Despite the stagnation at the federal level, state-level progress continues at a rapid pace. Nearly 40 states now permit some form of legal cannabis sales, whether for medical or recreational purposes. These state markets are diverse, with unique regulation and tax structures that present both challenges and opportunities for operators. Companies that focus on adapting these localized requirements are better positioned to weather the regulatory uncertainty and build a sustainable business. Rather than waiting for federal reform, cannabis companies are encouraged to take a pragmatic approach, strengthening compliance with state laws, investing in local markets, and building relationships with state policymakers can provide stability and growth. Businesses should also pursue incremental victories, such as advocating for banking reforms like the Safe and Safer Banking Acts, which aim to provide financial access for the industry, which will not happen. Additionally, businesses can explore innovative payment solutions such as cashless payments and automated clearinghouse transfers to operate more efficiently within existing restrictions. These strategies allow companies to address immediate challenges without relying on political promises. The cannabis industry has learned that waiting for sweeping federal change is a high-stakes gamble with little payoff. Instead, industry leaders must focus on actionable steps that drive progress today. Building a resilient business model tailored to the current regulatory environment will not only secure stability, but also lay the foundation for future growth. As Sunday Seafried, CEO of Safe Harbor Financial, points out, federal reform may eventually come, but its timing and scope remain unpredictable. By shifting their focus to achievable goals and state-level advancements, cannabis businesses can chart a path forward in an uncertain landscape. So, this is a very long way to say what I've said the whole time. They are playing us as a political pawn for votes. So don't expect anything to change in a huge, huge way. Even if some of these things do go through Schedule 3, whatever else, we still have some very clear-cut issues. Banks are still, although they're going to be allowed to because they're no longer prohibited by FDIC restrictions, they don't like working with highly regulated companies. They don't like working with high-risk companies. That's why banks have very large divisions that are not able to be reached by phone, that are only for risk. So, Jason's going to say Dogecoin and Operation Chokehold and whatever else.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to say Dogecoin.
But it's not. So you guys just be aware and stop putting all your little hopes and dreamies into the fact that the federal government is going to come in and save us, because what have they done historically? Expect some more of the same. Obviously, I am a staunch Republican, so I am not shitting on Trump for this, but what I'm saying is we are a very low priority on the totem pole of very, very big issues in this country right now. So I'll throw it back to you guys.
Thank you so much for taking a pragmatic viewpoint on that, Jenny Beth, and you know, restoring some people's faith in some of these conservative heretics out there that just take everything as law. And I would like to push back on one thing that you said, though, man. I know you're not shitting on Trump, but Trump is shitting on somebody right now.
Oh God. Well, I'll tell you what, you know, Jenny Beth, you can have this approach, but this is the whole reality of the whole situation. Okay. Even if the Trump administration doesn't do anything at all on cannabis, he's already done more in his first term for cannabis than the Democrats have in the last 30 years. Okay. We had him call for the passage of safe banking. Cory Booker, the safe banking was getting ready to pass, and Cory Booker grandstanded and said, "Oh no, without some social justice, whatever, we're not passing safe banking." Okay, two on this, he signed and passed the Farm Bill, which is basically defaulting legalizing cannabis, because we all know it's all THCA at the end of the day.
Well, Jason, I think that you have once again missed the absolute whole fucking point of the article, which was right or left. We as operators, if we want to survive, need to stop hanging our hopes and dreamies on political pundits, political parties, politicians. No one's going to strap a cape on and come save us. The point is, save your fucking self.
I agree with that. I like, you know what I'm saying? That just goes more to the point of, like, don't rely on government to solve your problems. Because government's not here to solve your...
That's the whole point.
We say that all the time. We say that all the time.
There's the shoes. Oh my God.
Literally, the article.
So I don't understand why I don't like this article.
The article is tied because I knew that you were going to come in with something like that, which is fine. But the entire article is titled, "Don't Bet Your Future on a Political Mirage." Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Paraphrased as, the government doesn't give a shit about us. Hang up all that crying and happiness. Figure yourself out. Save yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't strap a cape on.
Jesse, you're on mute.
Might not be strapping a cape on.
There's language being used. Like the use of the word mirage is clearly like a slight. And I think that there's been so much communication from the cabinet that Trump has been appointing, and starting with RFK Jr., who's been one of the most outspoken. And so we have a lot of people in this cabinet who've been very outspoken about cannabis in many ways. And they've spoken about the banking issues and the problems with the industry and all this stuff. and they have promised us, actually, that they would do something immediately, many times. So what's really happening here, in my opinion, is we need to take them at their word and hold their feet to the fire, actually, rather than say, oh, we don't believe you'll do anything, so we're not going to care about it. No, we need to care, and we need to speak up, and we need to be up their proverbial asses and letting them know that we heard that's right. We heard every word that they said, especially RFK Jr., who, if he does get confirmed, like I said,
he will. He
has said so much about cannabis that if he doesn't do it, he is a fucking liar. And if that's the case, then the whole political system is screwed. And exactly what you're right about this, then none of it's ever going to work. They're going to keep us in the dark forever. And this is going to big pharma eventually. And trying to legalize weed and even be on this team is a fool's errand.
And then that just gives credence to what Rico says all the time: just burn it all down.
That's right.
And
that's right.
You know, Mirage was, I don't think it was a slight on Trump. I think it was a slight on fucking everybody, because they went through Biden. I like the fact that they referred to it as a symbolic step, his pardons, because that did what? Absolutely
nothing. It gave him a piece to,
that they knocked all that out. And I think that the important part of this to me was that even if some of these changes, these policy changes that we're speaking of, do go into place, it's still not going to remove all of those hurdles fully for any of us.
No, it's not going to remove all the hurdles, but I do hope, and I do think that if these people are being honest, which I'm trusting that they are right now, 100 days from now, I might be speaking very differently. But if they do what they've been saying they're going to do, there's going to be change, and we're going to see it fast.
Oh, and that would be amazing. I just, want to continue to caution people, like, don't hang your fucking
100%. 100%.
Don't hedge your investor deck on it.
Hope. What's the saying? Hope for the best, expect the worst.
Yep.
You got to plan for both.
Yeah.
You have anything you want to add to this at all, Dr. Mark, or I can move on to the final story?
Go ahead and move on. You guys have covered it all.
I figured as much, but just wanted to make sure that you know what I'm saying.
Not doing this shit with us today.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, I have, I have a story from the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to cannabis. That's right, New York. So this is for you, Dr. Mark, since you're right next door to the great state of New York. Yeah, right next door. Yep. Because after a slow start in New York State, a number of legal cannabis stores skyrocket, Hochul says. I just have to say, this to me already is sounding like the subways are safe type of story, but nonetheless, I'm going to continue on, you guys. After a slow and tangled start, the legal cannabis business in New York is hitting some new milestones, you guys. The number of legal cannabis stores have skyrocketed from about 80 in early 2024 to 275 by the end of the year, Governor Kathy Hochul announced. Further, retail sales have topped $1 billion with a B dollar since 2023, with about $800 million coming in 2024, the governor said. The increases occurred after Hochul overhauled the Office of Cannabis Management, changing the leadership and adding more licensing staff, among other things that industry insiders said have the state's cannabis market moving to the right direction. The Hochul administration also expedited closures of illegal pot shops, and in a quote, I'd say that was more Eric Adams, but whatever. In a quote, they say, "Today, we recognize the 1 billion milestone as more than just a number. It's a testament to the hard work of those who helped build the strongest cannabis industry in the nation. One that prioritizes equity, ensures public safety, and empowers communities," the governor said in a statement. The numbers show improvement after years of delays in legal battles and criticism about mismanagement. The New York legalized adult use marijuana back in March of 2021 under then Governor Andrew Cuomo, under investigation for sexual harassment allegations and other issues. Cuomo resigned in August of 2021, with Hochul moving up from lieutenant governor to replace him. Cannabis regulations were slow to be put in place, as was the staff, and a New York goal of awarding the first batch of licenses to certain qualifiers, including, in quotes, justice-involved individuals. People who had a past marijuana conviction became the subject of litigation, holding up the license awards for a period of time. Hundreds of legal Hundreds of legal dispensaries were supposed to be open by early 2024, but only 80 did. And in May, an audit launched by Hochul said the State Office of Cannabis Management was handicapped by inexperienced leadership and haphazard management structure and poor customer service. Well, that's just part of being in government, as they offer this. I don't know any government that offers good customer service, but whatever. Hochul eventually named a new acting executive director for the agency, Felicia A.B. Reed, added new staff for licensing issues, and started a state trooper-led task force to target illegal cannabis shops. About 450 illegal shops have been shuttered, but thousands still operate, state officials have said. Meanwhile, license applications have been processed quicker, you guys. In a quote, Governor Hochul's efforts to improve the regulation of New York's cannabis industry have made a significant difference, Brittini Tantalo, president of the New York Cannabis Retail Association, said on Tuesday. In an additional quote, they say, the Office of Cannabis Management is more responsive, engaged, and collaborative. There's still room for improvement, but cannabis retailers have seen tangible improvements that enable our members to open and operate profitable businesses, you guys. Overall, the state expects to have more than 600 retail shops open by the end of 2025, and OCM projects sales to top $1.5 billion with a B in 2025. That's because Trump's coming back to save the economy. But nonetheless, the OCM reported that more than half of the adult use shop licenses are social and economic equity applicants with significant representation from minority and women-owned businesses, meaning those who come from economically marginalized communities, those with past marijuana convictions and other qualifiers. And this was a priority outlined in the legislation setting up New York's legal marijuana market. Increased sales has meant more tax revenue for the state as well as municipalities. And New York recorded $67 million in tax revenue for cannabis sales in the first 6 months of its 2024-2025 fiscal year, which ends on March 31st. And the Hochul administration said that's a much higher place than the $80 million it collected for its first fiscal 23-24 year. On Long Island, Newsday recently reported that Babylon has collected $2.6 million in cannabis-related taxes in 2024, and Suffolk County another $871,000. Babalori was home to the first 3 legal dispensaries to open on the island. And they also say Babylon Town Supervisor Rich Schaefer said the town is reaping more revenue than he believed it would. Though he initially opposed retail cannabis shops, he told Newsday the town has, in quotes, turned into a positive through revenue to expand services, especially for mental health and addiction services, you guys. Well, they're putting a lot of lipstick on a pig for New York. And, of course they were going to do that because, New York is probably one of the best gaslighters for painting rosy cheeks on sour flowers. But nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Yay.
Isn't this the same lady that said that the subways in New York are safe?
This is the same lady. I said that at the beginning of the story. This is the exact same lady. I can't believe that they're touting these sales numbers, whatnot. And then this is the other part that kind of annoys me a little bit with this story is they're touting their commitment to social equity and how many of these stores they were able to get up and open. But the thing about it is this, and you can talk about this a little bit, Dr. Mark, if it goes to Schedule 3, all these stores will get shuttered because none of these people will be able to clear a DEA application threshold.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, and I spent New Year's Eve down in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Going to see fish.
I knew it.
Yeah.
You see the balls drop?
Just trace.
No.
It's one ball, singular, bro. Pause with all that.
Yeah, just doing my fish thing at Madison Square Garden.
Nice.
Let's face it. I don't know how you snuff out what's going on there right now, which is like just about every convenience store, newspaper shop, deli store. Again, you can go in there, buy yourself a ham and cheese sub, get yourself a copy of the New York Times, and get a half ounce of weed.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stop all of that? Because it's like a whack-a-mole thing, because as soon as they close couple shops, 5 more open. And the way that Manhattan and most of New York City runs is, as long as you pay your neighborhood tax, protection tax, there's basically you're open for business. So I think Kathy Hochul, I think again, New York is a big state. There's a lot of upstate municipalities that are trying to play this, and certainly, yeah, I mean, I know people who are producing in New York, but the 800-pound gorilla in the room is the trap market that's totally been in New York City forever. And how do they get rid of that? So I don't know.
Dr. Mark, did you find it interesting that they were touting how they closed under 500 stores, but openly admitted that there's thousands of other illicit operators operating in New York City?
Yeah, because I don't think like the deli shop I just talked about. I mean, you go in there and you'll see newspapers and candy and potato chips. And it's just a store.
Yep.
Just a store. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're not the Fed, you're not some regulator from Albany, you wouldn't even know that they sell weed.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you go in there, you see just household items or other things, and if people can make money on it selling stuff in those stores, they're going to. Yeah,
it's a valuable product. They're not going to keep it out there where people can just grab it and whatnot. They're going to keep it behind the counter and have people ask for it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing, Jason, that I heard a lot about is, a lot of people from Fish were coming into town, and they were like, "Hey, what's the dispensaries to hit in Manhattan?" And you're like, "What's should I go down to the cookie store down in Times Square, or like where?" And it's like, yeah, all those places, I think, without exception, are trying to do whatever they can do to their bottom line. And we're in a commodity market where the lowest cost. So when you go and you buy a pre-roll, the lowest cost material is going to go into that pre-roll, so the store owner can make some money, and the distributor along the way, because he's got to pay the neighborhood tax and all that. So it's basically a pressure that's being put to basically produce the cheapest product you possibly can. Now, that doesn't mean that everything's mids in New York. You could probably get some heady weed. I know guys who sell in New York on the trap, and they're still getting like $300-400 an ounce. Because they don't want to go to the dispensary and buy THCA treated hemp. They want to get stuff from a dank grow in Brooklyn or something like that. I mean, I think what's going to happen there, Jason, in general, I mean, you're kind of segregating the market. You have your connoisseurs, right? Who like really weed and like really stinky bud. And then you have basically your, non-connoisseur who is like, okay, I'll just go to the cookie store, buy myself a cookie shirt, get myself a cookie hat, buy a few pre-rolls and some gummies, and go to the show and not know the fucking difference between, some, hemp-derived bullshit and, really dank weed. So,
fair enough. There you
go.
Fair enough.
I mean, I don't think the problem is restricted to Manhattan. If you went to Manhattan, Kansas, for example, or you go to some other place in the middle of the country, it's still, weed is a commodity game, right? And so the people who are desperately trying to make money, and there's a lot of people losing money, but people who are trying to get the profitability have a vested interest to sell you the cheapest crap that they could possibly put into packaging. Its packaging might look nice, storefront might look nice, all the swag and the shirts and the hats might all look nice, but at the end of the day, it's basically bottom of the super sack dust that they're just putting in the pre-rolls or putting into whatever. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. I think that thing is too big for them to put their arms around. I think Kathy Hochul has to pay lip service to all the people who've invested money in licenses and trying to build legitimate businesses. But ultimately, those people are up against a commodity play. And with hemp being legal, I've said it a bunch of times here on High at 9 News, it's cheaper to make THC than it is to grow it from cannabis. And so how do you take that out of the equation when these people are just trying to get the profitability? They're going to choose the cheapest shit that they could possibly get, that they can get the most money for. And yeah, man, it's it's tough times for a lot of people in the legitimate cannabis business because they have unfair competition. Hemp and online sales are basically going to win.
Yep.
Yeah.
They can fix it.
All right.
Shout out to New York, man.
Shout out to
For
New
what?
York.
Talk your shit.
Yeah. You ready,
Because
Rico?
nothing is real. Nothing is real. This whole thing is a fucking illusion. It is a projection. This is a hologram.
Hold on. Wouldn't you call it? Hold on, Rico.
We know it stopped existing in 2000, in the year 2000, when the Chads started hanging. They haven't stopped hanging, and they're here to stay.
Wouldn't you just call it a mirage?
Yeah, like all of that shit. It's a fucking illusion, man. Yeah, just believe everything and nothing at the same time.
Fair enough. All right.
Well,
let's do it, Rico. It's been a Friday. First close of the first week of the year.
Turn off the idiot boxes, y'all. But thank you for joining us for yet another episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans getting their comments posted live on the big screen. We had one or two today, didn't we?
Yeah. The C word, man. Shout out to the C word. Thank you so much for that, man. We really appreciate that. Much love, bro. Much love.
Thank you very much, and happy New Year.
Yes.
Also, everybody else in the audience, big love to you guys. Happy New Year's to you guys, and thank you for joining us for another week of developing news and opinion in the cannabis industry. Our vetted correspondent team, thank you guys also for tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, Adam and Millie behind the scenes, keeping our lights on and AV struggles to a minimum. And always the sponsors and Santa Cannabis Sativa L, the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you too. It has been Friday, January 3rd, 2025. The show is over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until Monday. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, America's #1 daily cannabis news and opinion show. And today we're gonna pop things back out to Dr. Mark because he's taking a stoic stance today. I think he's reflecting on everything that he did at the end of 2024, and if the cops got his license plate on his way back up,
He's still reflecting on the fish shows from the weekend, from the week.
Yeah, probably reflecting on the fish show. Yeah, so Fish has a gag every New Year's Eve, and this year the gag was they did this EDM set, and Fish is not known for doing EDM, but they did kind of EDM set, but they had all kinds of images of these statues that Trey saw at the Met. Statues of women of power from you would like this, Rico. This was an African artist from Kenya during COVID, had these huge statues, I guess, in and around the Met, and because they had kind of shut down during COVID, they weren't moved, so I think they were just sort of there, and it inspired Trey to write this song called Pillow Jets of Sound. So their gag this year was that the Pillow Jets of Sound was going to come and deliver us from all the bad that's going on in the world. But it was really cool. The imagery was really cool. Show was really great. Had a great time there. But I guess my word of wisdom for this year is, music is an incredible incredible thing. Music is my religion because it nourishes my soul. It brings me everything that I love. So, enjoy music in this new year. There's all kinds of things you could do. You could actually be a musician. You should, pick up an instrument. If you haven't started playing one, play an instrument. You'll get lots of joy out of it. You could play with yourself and not be viewed as being a freak. But
oh boy,
my word of wisdom for 2015 is make more music, and for me, make more molecules. Molecules and music. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
Much love, you guys. Have a fantastic day today. Enjoy your weekend.